I'll try. Yeah.
Hello, this is Aaron Pabon from Game Journalism Network. We are here live outside of Airplay, Spj Airplay event. It got evacuated due to a bomb threat. So, of course, the event had to be delayed. It's safe to assume that the bomb threat could be falsified, as it has been the trend with Airplay in the past. I'm sorry, with Gamergate meetups in the past and whatnot. But better be safe than sorry. There are police down the street. There are many people outside waiting to see if they can get back in or not. If you can see behind me, we have a crowd of people outside. I'm gonna see if I can grab people to talk to. We got people waving. Hey! Hey! Go. So,
Otter says hey.
Otter says hey. What do you guys think of Airplay so far?
Oh, it's wonderful. Yes, great.
Yeah. So bomb threats, keeping the spirits up still and whatnot. I'm gonna see if I can grab a few people to come on live. We're gonna figure that out now. But in the meantime, yes, Airplay is still happening regardless of bomb threat or not. This is still a serious situation. It has to be treated as such due to the fact of possible volatile nature. There are no. Right now, there is no word on whether we're going to be allowed back in or not. We're still waiting for police mention on that. Again, so to recap, what happened? A bomb threat was called in, and 20 minutes before the end of the second half of Airplay, the place had to get evacuated. We're going to try to bring in some people for a quick interview and whatnot, and the like. So bear with us. We're going to stay live on this channel, and we're going to go from there. Actually, we do have a couple of people who I'm going to speak to right now.
Aaron!
Right here. Okay, I got John Smith. John Smith, we're live on GJN's YouTube channel. Can you tell us exactly what's been going on?
All right, to my knowledge, what had happened was the security woman working the Quebec Center had gotten 10 separate calls that there were bomb threats. Now, to my knowledge, we had people searching the building, not only yesterday, but today, to make sure that there were no bombs, and also that it would be credible that there are no bomb threats. And also, I thought Koretsky had communicated with the PD that bomb threats coming in were gonna probably not be credible. We had told them that this was a very real possibility. I guess after getting 10 calls, the woman decided it was a good time to do it. And to my knowledge, the report was the bombs were going to go off at 2:45, which was like 3 minutes before the building was evacuated or so. Better safe than sorry on her part, but kind of annoying for the stream. We can get back in there and finish it up very quickly. Other than that, it's just here. We're waiting to get back in the building, and Florida humidity.
What is the plan on? Okay, police are actually moving us at the moment. We're going to try to move, and hopefully we'll not lose the stream connection. Walking and talking with me, we're probably going to have to do this. Oh, you got it? Okay, awesome. Thank you. So we got a little bit of walking and talking going. We're being moved down the street for safety measures. I think
if we can stop soon.
So, again, we're not sure if this is legit bomb threat or not, but we have to still be careful about it, as anything could happen in this day and age. It's safe to assume that it probably is fake due to the previous attempts at previous meetings before. Okay, I think we're. I got Ren. So, hey, bomb threat. How do you feel? We're live on YouTube Network, Game Journalism Network.
How many people are watching?
No idea. I can't tell. I got a little bit of a glare going on.
There's so many streams, you'll probably get a whole bunch of people watching later.
Awesome.
Yeah, so,
hi.
But your thoughts?
Well, it's my very first bomb threat. You know, it's pretty exciting.
As a journalist, kind of long overdue, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I mean, this is my second probably. So, but anyway, in all seriousness, so everything's been going on with the debate so far. Seeing a bomb threat actually being called during this event before, especially with everything's happening in the game before, has that had any notion of how everything's been going on?
What do you mean?
in the sense of that we've had people who have been covering it and not taking it seriously. People saying that Gamergate has been all about harassment and misogynistic and whatnot. But
we're shifting again. We're shifting again. We're shifting again.
Wait for the police, Dave!
You got people actively calling in a bomb threat, frankly. Yeah. How does that change any potential coverage of Gamergate?
I mean, it's pretty unfortunate that we're trying to have a serious conversation here and someone calls in a bomb threat. And we don't know who did it, so, like, I'm not going to say... Yeah. I'm not, like, it's tough to say, what this effect this will have because nobody knows who did it. Right.
Behind this wall!
Good God.
Just keep moving.
So, but before we got evacuated, we were in the middle of a heated debate, somewhat of a degree. What are your thoughts so far with AirPlay with the moment, Gamergate and everything in that situation?
It's been interesting. I had a lot of fun on the first panel. It was great to meet some of the people who I've only seen represented online. Can these people hear me? I don't even know.
Probably. We can't tell. I mean, the only thing I can do is project at the moment.
Yeah.
So this is very impromptu.
Sure.
So.
I think the second panel was a little off the rails. I'm not sure what was going on. I'm hopped up on cold medicine, so it is what it is or whatever. I would really like a beer right now.
I think we all would.
I think we all are on the same page with that.
So I hope that some good comes out of it. That's all. That's why I'm here.
Any plans on if we come back in, if we're still going to be continuing the stream or if we're still going to be continuing this conversation?
I have no idea what's going on.
If I could continue the narrative a little bit, one thing, it was Kretsky was trying to get us to a point, and I completely understood that. But I think if he had let some people talk, some people might have had. I personally had a great comparison. He was trying to say, if you have a journalist and you want to drop them into a field that they're not really familiar with, my counter to that is it's not quite the same as going and covering a building. It's more like when you needed to cover the Occupy movement.
Yeah.
And comparing it to that, how could you go from there if you keep it in mind that it's a movement, just like the Occupy movement was?
Can you repeat just like the question part of that?
Yeah.
I think I know what you're saying.
Keeping.
We're going to have our election now.
That's awesome.
Keeping in mind that Gamergate is a movement, how would you cover it, keeping that in mind, in the same way that Occupy was a movement? Because there was a question about how to cover it, keeping in mind that it's a movement.
Right.
Would that help with the thought process on how to cover it?
Not really, because Occupy was pretty easy in that there was a bunch of people camped out in the park and a bunch of journalists could go there and say, hey, what's your name? Tell me why you're here. What do you think about this? You're putting these are people who are like sitting here putting their lives on hold.
I believe what he's describing is that with physical presence, it makes it much easier. And Gamergate has no physical presence outside of things like this.
It's typically online.
Great, you should have been on the panel.
Yeah. He was supposed to
I was
be.
I know,
supposed
that's a joke.
The person talking, by the way, is Oliver
Hi,
Campbell.
I'm holding the camera. I don't know why. I just did.
That helps.
Also,
That helps with the anonymity. But what I mean is, there was a point made about how it's a story. How do you get the reporter to do the story as opposed to the movement? Because you couldn't do Occupy in a story.
Right.
And I think that was something that bothered me, that Kretsky kept moving it towards it's a story.
I mean, it's just that, so Occupy got continuous coverage because it's so visible, right?
Right.
Exactly. The Washington Post did a great job covering it because these people were camped out in this park that was like, 5 blocks from their offices. I could go through an entire month without seeing anything about gaming. Probably not anymore at this point. I am not checking my Twitter feed for a really long time.
Yeah.
But it's not as in your face. Despite all of the work is an interesting word there. All of the things that Gamergate has done to make themselves really visible, it's still on social media, and it's still something that I can just ignore. Not me personally, journalists.
My question would be in this situation, because one of the key questions has been, how does one cover an online movement like this? Now, I've been covering this movement not since day one, but I've been following the movement, trying to understand it and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think the key issue has been, which I feel hasn't been addressed, unfortunately, has been we don't have people who are very internet savvy when it comes to these new mediums that are available online, because not every journalist is going to tweet 24/7. Not every journalist is going to hang out on Reddit or these image board sites or these chance sites.
Right.
But what's the possibility of bringing in someone as an advisor to help understand internet culture in this capacity, and or have a journalist who specifically covers online culture in this nature? Why can't that just happen?
It could just happen. I mean, probably not the advisor part. I don't think that many journalism organizations keep advisors to teach them about certain topics. Certainly, you have sources that you go to for background over and over again. But as far as having someone specifically cover it, if they felt that there was a financial if they thought it was something that would, bring more readers to them and earn them money, I'm sure that any news organization would do it. It always, I mean, 99% of news organizations are for profits, and ultimately they want to cover something that the people care about. They want to cover something that's going to give them views. Or,
Oh my God.
All right, well, Ren, sit tight. I guess we'll see what happens.
I hope none of us blow up.
I doubt it, but it's better to be safe than sorry in this situation. It's kind of unpredictable at this moment. This stream is not turning off just yet. We're still gonna keep the stream active. We're just gonna have to set the laptop down for a minute. We gotta get a couple things organized, but we are gonna keep the camera track on everything that's been going on here. So sit tight. We're gonna find a place to put this down for a minute. We'll actually do a little bit of a walkthrough through the audience. Now, it's not just SPJ Airplay that got evacuated. There was also another SPJ event that was happening here that had to get evacuated as well. We have on both sides, and we're not going to be able to see, unfortunately. We have two separate events that were going on here, and I just lost the footage. I think it still says live. Okay, for some reason, we're still live, but we lost the video. I don't know what's going on. We are going to try to find out. But sit tight. We're going to stay live as long as possible. We're just going to find a place to sit down and set up shop.
The most impressive thing about a floorboard is its heat.
When was it Channel 5 and West Palm?
A very, very well.
Any place to sit down.
You don't want to go inside a gated
Yeah,
house.
nice, good enough. We're still live. If we can get a camera back on, we will try to figure that out. The camera's been okay. I think the camera's back
I think
up.
they're pushing us further back.
They're pushing it further back.
They're never leaving.
All right, so I have my EP here, Christina Scott. She's been helping me out with this. We're being pushed back again.
For some reason.
Let's see if we can get more people. We have water being water's going to be given to here we go.
I think
Officer, do we have to move behind the cruiser? Okay, so that's what's going on.
gonna grab the computer.
It's down for a second.
We need to move their trash can out of the road.
Everyone, I need you to go all the way to the stop sign at 2 Avenue. Please keep going.
Okay.
2 Avenue is the stop sign. There's not a police car out there. Go there, please.
Okay.
So we've gone quite a few blocks now. Well,
not a block. We're still on the same block, just a really long block.
it's a long block.
It's,
It should definitely be at least 2 blocks.
Everyone, I need you to keep going. Everybody. Keep going all the way to our vascular police store.
So on a personal note, for the people assuming that Gamergate is a hate movement, why would we call a bomb threat on ourselves?
Trust me, this is quite an annoyance. This isn't.
This is like what, the second or third time this has happened, and you know, this is serious stuff. I mean, this is considerably, in my opinion, just as bad as swatting somebody. This is
Especially in Miami heat. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What could this have happened in the winter? The 2 weeks of winter that we get.
Yeah. How much would you? What are the chances of coverage in Polygon or Kotaku about this?
We'll see.
They want us to go behind.
There's a police cruiser right here. If we can push this. Over there. There's John again. Here's the cruiser.
That we're supposed to be behind, I think.
Behind or near, at least.
Just near is fine.
So it's fine.
I mean, if it's a bomb blast, what's 3 meters going to do?
Shrapnel?
I don't know. They keep pushing us back. It's not.
Alright, I'm here with Gretzky. He's the SPJ Airplay organizer and the Region 3 director. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
So, bomb threat was called the Airplay. How do you personally feel?
Well, first of all, I think there were 5. I don't know the exact number. The ones that came in before noon, I understand, again, as they say in journalism, don't quote me because I'm getting this information from officers or lieutenants or sergeants.
Right.
The ones that were called in the morning were by social media, and because this is a secure facility, and because it's not open to the public.
We're moving again.
What I said.
Sorry. Because there's nothing like standing outside in Little Havana in the middle of summer. Of course, it could rain.
Hey, watch what you're saying.
So,
Right here.
of the bomb threats, the ones in the morning weren't considered credible because we had security sweep the place.
Right.
It was locked up overnight. This one, and I'm not quite clear on exactly how this happened, because what the officer told me is either it was called into the police department, or it was called into the Miami Herald, which is the Pulitzer Prize-winning paper here, or it was called into both, and it had a time certain. Like this bomb is going off at 2:45. That was the time. So.
And it is 3:15 now.
So.
Just
the building's still intact. So
I said, well, why can't we go back in?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I didn't think about this stuff. Cops have to think about this stuff.
there's some safety reason.
What if he called it in from LA? Because we don't know that bomb threat assholes account for time zones. We don't know that shit. That's a good point.
so then we still have a good half an hour to get our stuff.
I'm not a cop. I don't think about these things. You know, it's really cool about journalism,
All right.
learning shit.
Bomb threats are lazy. They may have not made the effort.
That's true.
Yeah.
So they're going to call it a dog squad, and they're going to check it out. If we can't get everyone back in there, just by serendipity, the other journalism conference that was going on had catered food, and we were going to have rum donated because we're journalists. That's what journalists do.
yeah.
Yep.
So I am trying to convince the organizers of the other journalism conference, who may not be digging me right now, that they should just break out the rum as soon as it gets here. And we should all just drink in the streets of Little Havana and eat whatever food is here. So, and I just gave out the rest of my SPJ money to some volunteers to go get water for everybody. So it sucks.
Yeah.
But it sucks that we can eat and drink. It'll suck a little less.
If we are able to get back in on time, will Airplay still be continuing at this moment, or will it have delayed?
If we can get in soon enough, we had reserved a separate room for kind of an after discussion. The TV cameras are going to pack up because they were going to be done. And Gamergate could have continued the discussion in the Black Box Theater talk that you guys were streaming from earlier. If we can get back in on time, I'm going to talk to the camera guys. I think they'd be into it. We'll just continue the discussion up until 5 o'clock.
But not live stream.
Why not?
Because they're going to call in a threat, and we have other things to do besides this.
Oh, come on.
I know, but we do. We have a whole award ceremony we have to present.
It'll take them at least half an hour to call in.
I'm going to widen this
This is Jason Parsley. He's past president of SPJ Florida and the organizer of the journalism conference. For that conference, basically, I worked for him. I had to do a lot of logistical stuff. So he was my boss, which is the only time it's ever going to fucking happen. Yeah.
Okay, so from your perspective, how does this make you feel?
Especially since it's not directly your event, because this was a bomb threat specifically towards AirPlay itself. How do you feel?
Well, I'm just really, I guess, disappointed for all the people that came out here that work for AirPlay, that really, wanted to do other sessions and have a career fair and meet new people. And hopefully this can turn into a positive experience in some way. I think a lot of the journalists here that are already planning to write about it and Gamergate, which is actually going to give it even more press, ironically. And I'm shocked that there's anyone in this world that can think it's helpful or appropriate to interrupt a discussion on journalism ethics with a bomb threat.
Thank you.
What was your name again?
Jason Parson.
Jason Parson. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So,
I think you should wrap it up because of battery.
yeah, we're gonna try to stay on as long as. We're gonna have to unfortunately shut the stream down because of battery issues, but with my phone, because we're hot showing off my phone, and with the laptop, we're gonna try to stay on for maybe one more minute, just to wrap things up. But sit tight. We will brief you on everything that's going on my personal Twitter account at Aaron Pabon. That's at AARONPABON. We're gonna give you some as much coverage as possible, and if I cannot, and if the Game Journalism Network cannot give you the adequate coverage, there are going to be other people who are actively streaming online through Periscope. There are people who are actively tweeting what's going on right now. So sit tight. We will get you as much information as possible as it happens through my personal Twitter account. We're going to stay on for a few more seconds.
Alright.
Okay, we're still on. That's good. All right.
You need to shut it down.
Is it the computer or the?
You need to shut it down. It's the computer's starting to heat up.
Okay, so I'm being told by my producer, the laptop that we're streaming off of and the phone that we're using for internet coverage is heating up very badly, and we're outside in Florida weather, so there's a good chance that this could burn out the laptop and the phone. So we are going to have to shut down this stream, unfortunately. We will try to get the stream online again later on. Real quick, before we do shut it down. Hi.
Hi.
Am I on camera?
Yes.
You're on camera. You're live, actually, on GJN's personal YouTube stream. What do you think of everything that's been going on, especially with the bomb threat and, well, first of all, before the bomb threat,
Yeah.
the conference itself, AirPlay itself, how has it been in your personal opinion?
I think it was good. I mean, I think that there were moments when the conversation could have been a little more focused, and when maybe it wasn't entirely clear, like what was wanted from us, because I think the conversation could have gone, in certain directions, towards certain topics that could have been really helpful. But I think we definitely did. It was a very good first step. I mean, I think that we did make the point that the coverage of Gamergate has been really flawed. I think we did manage to get that across, and I think it was finally kind of stipulated by the moderator that that was the case, and we should just kind of proceed from there with the assumption that the coverage still worked in that. I think that's an important point. So I think that, and I think it's a good place to start. The bomb threat, well, it's kind of unfortunate that someone had to do this, but it's pretty obvious that somebody didn't want this conversation to go on, and that somebody definitely wasn't Gamergate. So, it's kind of funny that, the supposed harassment movement is the one whose events get all these bomb threats.
Yeah.
This is my second bomb threat. I think my only bomb threat before this was when I was in college and somebody called in a bomb threat because they were about to flunk their exam and they wanted the building evacuated.
Yeah, no, I've had the same thing to me in college as well. But this movement's already had a couple bomb threats itself. So here's this bomb threat. What was your first reaction, especially while evacuating?
Well, you know, they mentioned when they first mentioned that there was a bomb threat. You know, we kind of decided like we had discussed, you know, in advance that we were not going to leave the building.
Right.
You know, it was most likely. And I'm pretty sure this is not. I very, very seriously doubt that this is an actual bomb, but it is disappointing because I think the panel was actually in a good spot and we had about 25 minutes left. We were going to go to audience questions and things were kind of picking up steam. And, you know,
guys, we're back a bit. We're back a bit.
Buddy.
So, you know, it's unfortunate that it had to end this way, but we're kind of sweltering out here. I think the heat is, yeah. The heat
Of course,
is,
especially in Florida weather. And
yeah.
okay. All right. Well, that was Captain Young. Thank you very much for coming on the stream. One last person I want to get before we have to shut down the stream because the laptop is getting a little bit. I'm in the middle of the live stream. I'm very sorry. Very sorry. I think Paul is actually in the middle of, I think in the middle of the stream right now as well. And the time is, yeah, we're gonna have to cut the stream. Unfortunately, the laptop is getting dangerously hot along with the phone. We will try to get back online as soon as possible. We will be tweeting on my personal Twitter account at Aaron Pabone. Also, stay tuned to Game Journalism Network's YouTube page for any more impromptu streams if possible. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching.